Struggling with data analysis in Excel? Ever tried pivot tables but just felt overwhelmed? By the end of this video, you'll know how to turn confusing, messy data into clear, actionable insights. All of this with the help of your new AI best friend, Microsoft Copilot, and yes, in seconds. This video is sponsored by Sheet Matcher. Hey there, Dave here. Pivot tables saved me hundreds of hours in my accounting career, and now with the arrival of Microsoft Copilot, they just got way easier. You'll want to stay till the end because you'll see Copilot will make you crazy productive. This video will be split into two parts. First, we'll use the free version of Microsoft Copilot to make a pivot tables with our Excel data, and in the second part of this video, we'll use Copilot in Excel, which is the paid version of Copilot, to do the same and make sure your pivot table is really nice. So feel free to use the chapter in the description to skip ahead to the part that interests you. So here we are to the left, we are on the free version, copilot.microsoft.com, and to the right here, I have my Excel data. I have my sales data from the Piggy Beans Cafe, the best cafe in the world. So first we have our sales date. We have roughly 2 years of sale data, 2023 and 2024. Then we have our products, our sales amount, a region, or salesperson. We even have the department and the number of items sold, the price per unit, and also the day of the week. So pretty thorough sales data that you should have in your company. To the left here, we have Microsoft Copilot. So let's see, how do we talk to Microsoft Copilot? I am a junior accountant at a small chain of coffee shops. The business owner asked for the sales by year and quarter broken down by region as pivot tables. I don't know how to do pivot tables. Can you please explain how to generate one in Excel? Here are the first few rows of my data. Then we go to Excel and let's say the first 5 rows of data. Control C to copy, go to Copilot, and paste it here. All right, and then we click submit. Here we go. So just with a sample of data, Copilot is able to analyze our prompt and actually tells us how to do it. So let's follow actually. It was so fast, right? So here we go. So we have Copilot that tells us creating a pivot table in Excel is a great way to summarize and analyze your data. Here's a step-by-step guide to help you generate a pivot table for your sales data by year and quarter, broken down by region. First, prepare your data. Ensure your data is in a tabular form with headers. It looks like your data is already well organized. Of course, in my case here to the right, my data is set as a tabular form, all is well. So now let's insert a pivot table. Select any cell within your data, go to the Insert tab on the ribbon and click on Pivot Table. Here we go, we're going to hit Insert, Pivot Table here, and then Excel asks us where do we want to put a pivot table. Let's put it in a new worksheet here. Click on New, boom. Here we go. So now we have this pivot tables field at the right that opens up. And let's see what is the next step here. We are at step 3. We need to set up the pivot table. In the pivot tables field list, drag the following fields to the corresponding area. First, we need to drag the date to the rows area. So let's take the date here and drag it to the rows. Here we go. Then we drag the region to the columns area, region to the columns area, and then the sales amount in the value area. Sales amount, value area. All right, isn't this beautiful? We have the question our boss asked for. We have the quarterly sales broken down by region. And now a quick word from our sponsor, Sheet Matcher. As a CPA, I often have to compare multiple Excel files. It's a task that demands precision and effort. Whether you're tracking changes, checking budget versions, or looking for specific discrepancies, it can be a very time-consuming process. With Sheet Matcher though, that process takes just seconds. You get clearly highlighted results, pinpointing missing records, formula discrepancies, and more. And all of that without sacrificing accuracy. And with the advanced options, even complex cases are covered. Now back to the video. Now let's get to the fun part, Copilot in Excel. So first thing first, your data must be set as a table for Copilot in Excel to work. To do that, you just click on your data and then click on Insert and then click on Table here. In my case, my data is already in table, so we are all set. To know if your data is a table, you can have a look at the top here. It says table design. So when you click off your table, this little tab that is green is going to disappear. So we're going to go here in the home ribbon and click on Copilot button here. And then you need to have your data on SharePoint or OneDrive. So here in my case, I don't. So I'm just going to click here on turn on autosave. It's going to ask me where. I'm going to select my SharePoint thing. And here we go. They're uploading my document to SharePoint. And now we are in Copilot for Excel. So this opens up this tab at the right here. We have a lot of different options. And the difference between the chatbot and actually Copilot in Excel, you don't need to add that much context in Copilot in Excel versus a chatbot where we told it, hey, we don't know how to do pivot tables and stuff like that. So let's ask our first prompt. We're going to ask, create a pivot table showing sales amount by region and quarter. So basically the same request that our boss asked for the Copilot chatbot. So here we are, Copilot will understand my data and it will try to do my request here. After a few seconds, we have a pivot table here. We're just going to click on add to a new sheet and have a look at our data here. There you go, Copilot created a pivot table. And to be honest with you, I don't really like this pivot table. Of course, I could just click on the little minus here like that. Boom, boom, and we have something closer to what we want, but we don't have it all. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to click on the plus again, and I'm going to show you how to remove the subtotals in a pivot table. So here we go to the top in the ribbon and click on design, and then we just click subtotals and we do not show subtotals. Here we go, we have our sales by quarter, by region. And what's really cool with the pivot tables is that they are easily flexible or easily pivotable. Can we say that? So here I go, I click on my pivot table, and to the right here, I have my pivot tables field. And let's say I will want the region before my years. I just click on the region here and I drag it up. Here we go, boom. And now what it does is that I actually have my split by region first, and then by year, and then by quarter, right? And then if we want to make something even better, we can put the region in the columns here. I will click the region and I will drag it in the columns. And boom, here we go. It's probably something similar that we want to have. We have all of our data set in our pivot table. We have our years first, then we have our quarters, and then we have our region. And then of course, we also have the grand total by quarter, and that is really nice. If I want to add back my subtotals to have my total by years, I go back in the design tab at the top, click on subtotals, and then I can click on show at the bottom of group. Here we go, and I have my 2023 totals. One more thing that is really cool with pivot tables is that if you double click on any number on your pivot table, it is going to open the details of these transactions. So let's say I will click on my 2023 numbers, the 335,024, double click on that, and boom, I have all of my transactions that makes up this number. So if I do the total here, total of the sales amount, boom, at the bottom here, I see 335,025. This is the status bar at the bottom, and something that you might not know, if you click on the number here, it's going to put it in your clipboard. And if I go here in this cell, Control V, boom, it copies the number. All right, second prompt, we're going to ask Copilot to make a pivot table with the product sold by year and by sales amount. You need to be really careful of which words you're using here, because if you use words such as create a pivot table with top product, then Copilot will make you a table instead filtered by top product. So be careful of your prompts. Use the prompt that I'm using here. Always start with create a pivot table and then put the columns that you want. Here we go here. Copilot made a pivot table. Let's add to a new sheet here so we can see it better. And here we go. Copilot made a pivot table comparing the product by year here. Super cool. So we have our sum of sales amount, but let's say we will want the average sales by year, by instance, because we want to know what's the average of the invoice. How do we do that? So we go into the fields here once again, and we click here on the values. And then we click on the value field settings. And then we can select anything that we want. We want the number of items, let's say the count, or we want the average, or we want the maximum sales. So let's say average in this case, and look at this number here, 38,000. It's going to become, boom, 225, which means that we have an average transaction of $225 for the cappuccino product in 2023. And if we do an average of the 2 years, we have $215. So the average sales of the cappuccino went down by $21 from 2023 to 2024. So our boss might be a little bit worried here. All right, the last question I'm gonna ask Copilot is to actually create a pivot table comparing the sales by department. Please make sure to add a variation calculation. Here we go. So Copilot didn't actually make a calculation, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm just going to add this to the sheet here. Here we go. We have a pivot table once again. So I'm going to add the date here. I'm actually going to take the year and put the year as a column. So we have the department by year and we have our grand total. And then you might want to calculate the difference between the 2 years, which Copilot wasn't able to do for us, unfortunately, but I will show you, and don't worry, it's going to take a few seconds. First, what we'll do is to remove the grand totals from this pivot table because I don't want it. So I'm going to click on my pivot table, go into design, and then for the grand totals, I will only put it for columns. So on for columns only. And here we go. We can see that these totals have disappeared. Then I want to do my calculation. So I basically want to calculate 66,000 minus 61,000 or whatever, the other way around. And I could actually do that, but I don't recommend because when you change your pivot table, let's say we add something, we had the salesperson in the rows. There you go. It says we have data. And then if we click yes on that, it's just going to replace my calculation. So I will not do that, right? I'm going to hit Control Z to go back. Delete that. Boom. And I'm going to show you the real way to make a calculation. So I'm going here in my pivot tables field and I will go under values here. Click on that. Click on value field settings. And then in this beautiful little box that pops, I will click on show value as, and then in this drop down menu, you can select different options. I will click difference from, and you can even put difference from in percentage, but let's just put difference from right now. And then we will select the field that we want to base the difference on. In my case, it's the year, it's not the department. So I will go in the year here. And I will do previous. Here we go. And look at these numbers, they're going to change. Boom, it says only minus 5,000. That's not really helpful, right? If you send this to your boss, you're going to get fired. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the sales amount once again, and we're going to drag them in the value field of our pivot table. Here we go. It's not really beautiful because we have this empty space here, but as you can see, we have the difference of the sales amount right here in my column G. And if we want to add, by instance, the region, we can take the region and add it in the row. And boom, here we go. We have our difference by department, by region now. And once again, if we want to pivot our things, we can take the region and put it up. Boop. Boop, didn't work. There we go. All right. And then we have our difference of sales amount in column H. We can even rename this column here. Put the little comma before difference, not a comma, bracket, difference. We can actually remove these brackets, still work. Here we go. We have something really nice. Now we can maybe hide this one, and we have a difference that we created with our pivot tables. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're like, but Dave, this is a video on AI and Copilot could not even calculate the difference. Wait a minute. First thing first, if you wanted help with Copilot to calculate this difference, you could have went to the chatbot that we saw at the beginning of this video, and you could have asked him for sure. You know, like just be specific, ask which column, what you want to do. But now actually, I'm going to show you something really cool that Copilot can do. And I'm going to go back on my transactions here, and I'm going to ask Copilot, show all insights. That's what I'm gonna write. It's a pre-built prompt in Copilot, and you're gonna see how powerful this is. I'm going to click here, and here we go. Copilot actually made this one chart here, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted this pre-built prompt here. Add all insights to grid. So you can see in Copilot in Excel how specific you need to be. Like this is a spreadsheet large language model. It was trained to get specific prompts and one word, and it doesn't work, right? Add all insights to grid. And as you can see, Copilot is loading right now while I'm talking to you. It's making a lot of different charts based on your data that he thinks you could be interested about. And that's really, really cool in my opinion here. So we have a few different charts. We have the price by unit, we have the number of items sold, we have the customer satisfaction score, and a lot of different other charts. And what's cool, sorry, I'm sick, I'm really sorry for that. And what's cool is that I'm losing my voice, I'm kidding. So as you can see at the bottom here, what's really cool is that Copilot actually gave you the pivot tables going with the chart. So what Copilot did is actually a pivot chart. So what I'm going to do real quick with you, we saw pivot tables in this video. I'm going to take this second here, the second pivot table, and I'm just going to cut it and paste it in another tab. So I'm going to do Control X, here we go, and bring it over here. And I'm going back here and I will take the chart that goes with that, this chart here, boom. And I'm going back. Here we go. So we have a pivot chart, right? And maybe you're like, but what is a pivot chart? A pivot chart is just a pivot table, but Microsoft Excel actually added a chart to it, right? So there you go, you have a chart, and I'm going to show you something really cool, how you can make a mini dashboard with this pivot chart, right? So I show this to all of my clients, and this is really cool. So I'm going to show you something. These are both linked together. So if I go here on my pivot table and I filter on anything, let's say I will filter on the cappuccino and the espresso. These are linked together. As I click OK, as you can see, boom, my chart auto adjusts. Super, super cool. I will remove my filter real quick here by clicking on that and then clear the filter, right? One thing I'm going to do though, Copilot did the average of number of items sold daily. On my case, I will want the sales amount by product so it's easier for you to understand. I'll just uncheck it and take the sales amount and drag it down here in the value. Here we go. I have my number of items sold daily by product. Watch out, the title didn't change, so maybe we need to change this title. After all, product sold by amount, okay? But that's not what I want to show you. This is a basic pivot chart, super cool to do a quick dashboard, but I want to show you something. What if I will tell you that we will add some really custom cool buttons to this pivot table here? So I'm going to click on my pivot table, and I'm going to click on Pivot Table Analyze. Of course, we want to analyze this pivot table. I will insert Slicer. And don't blink because this is really cool. At the Pivot Table Analyze tab here, click on Insert Slicers. And then I can select by which category I want to actually filter, which field, which column header. So I will want here my salesperson, I will want my department, and I will also want my product. Okay, let's say it like that. And boom, in a matter of seconds, I have slicers that appear on the screen. I'll make them a little bit smaller here and put them at the top real quick. And just like you, and here we go. Okay, I'm just gonna have a few lines here, insert, here we go, and then a little bit here. Okay, so now we have slicers, and when we click on our slicers, at the top, you have the option to change the color. I'll go really quick here. I'll put this one pink. I'll put this one green, and here we go. We have super great slicers. Now, what's cool is that these buttons are actually interactive. So let's say I want to just filter on Cappuccino Cathy, which is my best sales rep. I click here on Cappuccino Cathy, and as you can see here at the bottom, as I use Shift to select more other salesperson, it actually filters both my pivot table and my pivot chart with these items here. Super, super cool. And these slicers are interactive with each other. Let's say I just take one of my salesperson, Latte Larry. You can see that Latte Larry is only in one department. He is in the Latte Legend. So these other two buttons on my slicers are actually grayed out. So it is super cool. The slicers use Shift to actually select multiple items on your slicers, or Control when they're not near each other. Okay, if you want to remove anything on your slicers here, click on the filter, clear filter at the top of every slicers, and they will become with a red X when they are actually available to get removed. Other than that, they will be grayed out, right? You can play around with your slicers at the top. Let's say here for the salesperson, we want 2 columns. We can just go here, 2 columns. You can play with height and the width. I'll let you play with that, of course. The last thing I want to show you, and this is the last thing, I swear, if you click again on your pivot table, you can do something really cool. I swear, I do this on every client that I help them with Excel. It's super simple. There's no macro. It's just, super intuitive. You click again on the pivot table analyze tab here, and then you click on insert timeline. Here we go. And then Excel, it will auto detect the only field that is a date. In my data set, in the tab transactions, I have one field only that is date, and it is actually called date, right? So I click here, boom, click, and boom. This is actually amazing. I have a timeline. So now I just made a complete dashboards in just a few seconds with the help of Copilot, and it's actually super cool, super interactive. I can select the month of January, by instance, and once again my data is getting filtered. So let's say I hit Shift up to June, boom, it filters this, it makes my chart and my data, and then I can also play with the slicers, which are all connected, right? So it's super, super cool. And if you want this slicer to be not only in months, you want it to show years or quarters, it is also available. Let's click on quarters here. And as you can see, it's going to put every year that I have in my data set, and I can play with that, and it's going to filter my data set here and my chart at once. If you want to level up your Excel skills, I made this video right here. I also made a 3-day free mini course on AI in Excel, and it's available for free right now. Catch you soon in another video.